watching Wildcat behind the page, and this is CB Smallwood, and we're taking a behind the scenes look at the making of the first issue of Wildcat. Now, for those that don't know, and those of you that are new subscribers, you may or may not like these videos, but Wildcat is my own personal comic book creation, and I'm very close to getting the book released. This video is kind of like half vlog, half behind the scenes type thing, so it might not be your cup of tea. So you've been warned. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, been hard at work with this book. I've got the pencils done. I've got the inks done. And now I've got like 17 pages of the script completed, which I'm kind of at a standstill with that. I need to go back and actually look at the script and tweak some things and fix some things and make some things better. But overall, I think the script is somewhat solid. It could be a little bit better. And for me, the writing is always the thing that kind of makes and breaks some books. So hopefully I can do a good job and make this book, really stand out even more. I'm not saying that it already does, but, it would help. The other thing is, I'm going to go ahead and show you this. When I was working on the comic book, and I still am working on the comic book. When I was working on the inks, I got to the last page, and I think some of you, if not all of you, saw the pencils, the preliminary pencils I did of the last page of Wildcat. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this last page and let you take a gander at it. So this is what the finished pencils and inks look like for the last page, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think this shows you a little bit more of the full potential of what I have to offer with this comic book. There's some things that I struggled with a little bit when I was making the first issue. And this is the first comic book that I've ever completed from beginning to end, like a full 20-plus page comic book. So this is my really first real goal and attempt at this. And I think I did, fairly well for myself. I could be wrong on that. I want to be cautious about patting myself on the back, but, I don't want to... I don't want to be too humble and overlook, the hard work I've put into it. But anyway, I'm happy with how this last page turned out. I think it looks really good. There's some issues I have a little bit with the graphic design element, as far as like the hourglass and the lettering, how it fits into things. I don't want it to look too crammed. Originally, the layout design I had was perfect for it, but it wasn't going to work with the new layout design that I did. And because of that, I had to change stuff up. And I wanted to keep that element of the hourglass, because the hourglass, the storyline behind that, is going to be a very central theme moving forward with Wildcat for the next, 50 or 100 issues, give or take. It depends, because how I stretch out that time or shrink that time in the Wildcat universe is pretty much up to me. So I could pretty much tell this story within 10 issues, which I don't want to do that. Probably going to stretch it out to like 50 or 100, assuming I make it that far. Next on the list is I've been also working on coloring. Been doing lots of coloring, and here is the first page that I colored, which is the cover, and I'm really, really happy with how the cover turned out. I think the colors on it look really good. Most people I've shown it to have really enjoyed it. My only personal critique on it, and I welcome any and all critiques on this or anything else I've done. My personal critique on it is I think the dirt could look a little better. As far as the colors go, and I may change that in the future, but even if I don't, I think this cover is fine as is, so it's just kind of up in the air. But I think I'm going to stick with how this cover looks for now. I could change my mind on it because I got a lot to do, and I just don't know. Moving on from that, we go to the first page here, and I'm happy with the colors overall with the first page. I think it turned out really good. And my only critique on this one is on the, I think of the bottom left, where you got the bad guys just standing around. I'm not too sure what I think or feel about that, because I think I could have done a little bit of better job. Now, I just want to point out, as I'm showing you these pages, it's the first 6 pages that I've colored. I'm going to go back and I'm going to recolor some of these pages. I'm going to recolor like little bits here and there and try different color schemes. So I'm not finished with the colors. I mean, I'm like 95, 98% finished with the colors. I think I am finished with the colors with the cover, but for the rest of the pages I'm getting ready to show you, they're not fully completed. And for those of you that don't know me that well yet, that have not been following my videos from the beginning, I'm the type of guy who likes to lay down the preliminary coat of art, right? You know, like a painter, like when you're painting a house, you got your base coat that you put on there, but you have to put on 2 or 3 more layers after that dries for it to really look good or whatever. Each painter does things different, I guess, or whatever. But anyway, so I put on like several different layers of art, and I go back and I retinker with stuff because I see it as part of the process. I'm not working for anybody else. I'm working for me, so I can go back at free will anytime I want and change anything. If I want to throw a page away, I can throw a page away. If I want to draw another page, which I ended up doing, that's what I did. And actually, I threw pages away. I mean, they're not like gone, but I took pages out of the book and I added one new one in. So that's just the freedom I have because it's my project. And ultimately, I just see it all as part of the process because I don't care how many pages I take out and how many new pages I have to do. I don't care about how many times I have to go back and re-ink something or recolor something. I see it all as part of the process because until it is printed or published or whatever you want to call it, it's not done. And until it's done, I can do whatever I want, and I can do it, work it any way that I want to. So I just kind of look at making comics as like shaping clay, and I just shape that clay over and over and sculpt it and add more pieces on, take pieces off, and I keep tinkering with it until I get it to the best possible version I can get it with the best possible effort that I can have to offer at that time. Okay, and then I got to move on at some point because if you fool around with stuff too much, then you end up not doing anything. So anyway, moving on to page 2, you see the colors on that. I have mixed feelings on page 2 a little bit. I do like the blue light that I added on the guys. It looks like they're peeing. I didn't mean to make these guys look like they're peeing. As I went back to change some of the inks on this, or add to the inks, or add to the pencils through the inking, I tried to turn their heads a little bit so that way it had a little bit of better body language. But if I had to do it over, I would have them more turned toward one another instead of everybody facing the same direction, looking like they're taking a piss. So that is my big critique on that page. I mean, there's other things wrong with that page, of course, but that's one of the biggest ones that glare out at me. But I think the blue light helps with that for some reason. Because not only does the blue light put them in the background more, but it actually, helps to focus the reader's eye on what's happening in the foreground, which is the bump, bump, bump going on in the grave, At least that's what I hope that it does. I could be wrong on that. When we get to the colors of page 3, overall decent colors. There's some new things that I tried to do on this. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't. It's a bit of a struggle. So I'll let you make a judgment call on this, on how you think it turned out. I think to me the weakest panel is in the upper right where it's got all 4 of the bad guys standing. And I don't think it's so much the colors of the bad guys or everything in it, but I think it's the background that really irks me. But I try to keep a consistent background. I don't want it to be like multicolored within the same page. I'm fine with doing like background colors that are purple, red, green, whatever, pink. But I feel like if you're going to do that, you got to have a consistent light color scheme throughout, unless a certain mood of the story calls for it. It's kind of weird. I can't explain the science of me trying to color this, but it makes sense in my head, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of stuck with the blue. I feel like I am, but overall, if it looks cool, it looks cool. And right now, I don't feel like it looks as cool as it could. So moving on to, I guess it's page 4. The colors start to improve on this one, and I kind of feel like I made Wildcat a little bit too dark than what I meant to. I could change that maybe, not for sure. It's a lot of work. The background colors on this are going to be a little bit different from how you're going to see them on the screen here. I've actually changed them, but I'm showing you an old file of this. And cool thing is, if you notice, he has golden fingernails. So for those of you that don't know, he has gold fingernails. It's not from fungus. They are golden claws that are about anywhere from 2 to 3 inches long, that are retractable in his hands, and they can cut through like most metals. Not all metals, but most metals. And so that's another element of mystery, from the golden claws, the rock arm, the gray skin, the cybernetic robot eye that he's got. How and why does he have pointy ears? So all these different elements tied together to make Wildcat who he is, and there's a mystery to each one of these potentially. And so the series, part of the series, is about exploring these little miniature mysteries. And also the red tattoos on his face, the triangle tattoos from his forehead to his chin. He got those from a place. So lots of good stuff to get into. So I'm happy with the colors of this overall. There's still things I'm going to tinker with to change, but that's kind of where I'm at. So that brings us to the double page spread of page 5 and 6. And overall, I'm kind of really happy with how the colors turned out on this. I think this lives up more to the standard of the colors that are on the cover. And my only real critique with this, and by the way, I'm not finished with this page. I'm not finished with any of the pages except for the cover for the most part. But this one I'm still actively working on, I should say. And the rest of them I will go back to, in a couple of days. But on pages 5 and 6, the double page spread, I still got to color the leaves and do a few little color corrections here and there, but I'm pretty much almost done with this. And I'm happy with the colors turned out overall. The only thing that irks me is the actual layout design of it, because if I had to do it over, when I went to go pencil Wildcat, what I would have done is I wouldn't have done such a cookie cutter superhero-ish pose. What I would have done is had more of a lumbering Bernie Wrightston, Del Keon type pose, where it shows the raw potential of strength, but while at the same time hints at the fact that he just came out of a grave, and adding a little bit of more of an eerie and horror element to it. I think initially my mindset was, when I did this, is we've been building up to see Wildcat, and then when we finally get to see him, I want it to be a big pizzazz, a big moment. I don't know if I pulled it off here. I think the reactions of everybody looks, pretty solid, but not too sure on Wildcat himself. But overall, I think it looks really good. Could be better, but let's move on. Okay. What we're going to move on to now is, I've been sketching a lot, been drawing a lot, and trying to improve as an artist, because I'm going to make that next issue even better than the first. I promise that. And I will deliver on that, because I am improving, and hopefully yins will see that. A lot of times when I share my sketches with you in preliminary sketches and stuff like that, or even the raw pencils, that's not how the final image is going to look, because I'm still going to ink it later on and add another layer or dimension of the art, and correct some things and fix some things I might not have otherwise had time to, because that's all part of the process to me, right? So with this, when it comes to what I'm doing now, is I'm trying to work on my pencils. One of the things I've been doing is working on character faces and body language and stuff like that. So if you take, for example, the fox, I've been trying to sketch out how her general look is going to look like. She's going to have big rounded eyes. instead of the more traditional American square eyes. And that's how I'm going to draw all my female characters for the most part, with the rounded eyes, because I feel like it's more expressive. So that's the look I've chosen to go with, unless I change my mind. She's going to get a new haircut in the next couple issues. The other sketch I want to share with you is basically we take a look at a Wildcat villain called the Liquidator, and here you'll see kind of more of a rough, newer version, a more completed version of how he should look like in a future issue. Now, I want to just point out that the way he looks now, that how can I put it? It looks pretty raw in this, but when I actually do the pencils in this, he's going to look pretty cool. Or I'm going to try to make him look really cool anyway. And, you look at the way that I did him in the past there, and that's the initial color scheme they're going to go with. Also, we've got, many sketches, not all of them. I'm not showing you all the sketches that I've done. I just ain't got time to do it. But I've went through many sketches of Wildcat and the Fox and all of them, trying to narrow down their look. And with Wildcat, he's went through several different iterations in the last several months, in the last year, in the last several years actually. And with the more newer iterations, he started out with being kind of regular looking, with two natural arms, and then I later added a rock arm because I needed something to make him look more different, to separate him from everybody else. I tried different color schemes with the rock arm, and I felt like the red arm worked best. Now, I could be wrong on that, but I feel like it complements him well. The other thing is I needed something more to separate him. So I ended up adding ears on him, pointy ears. I hated the pointy ears on him for the longest time, but I've started to get used to them now, and it started becoming more of the look of Wildcat now that I've started getting used to him. Can't say what inspired them, not because I'm keeping it hidden or anything like that. I just honestly don't know what made me think to give him pointy ears. It just came out of me one day, and that's just how it was. It basically just came out of a need to give him something extra to make him even more different. Moving on from that, went through all these different sketches of Wildcat, and this brings us back to the original sketch done in 1995 of Wildcat, back when I was maybe 10, 11, or 12, somewhere in there. And I remember being so super enthused at how this turned out. It was awesome. I was pumped. I thought this was the greatest thing ever was. I was super excited. And as you notice, he's vastly different from how Wildcat looks now. And the reason I changed away from how he looked then to now is because I wanted him to have an outfit where he could change his clothes. I know that sounds stupid, like he's a Barbie doll, but look at it this way. With Clark Kent, he changes in and out of his clothes like a normal human being. He changes in his Superman outfit and back out of it. At some point you got to wash those Superman duds or they're going to stink. And Wildcat's going to have ladies. Okay, he's going to have some lady friends at some point in this series. And they're not going, most of them ain't going to want to be around a stinky man. So he's going to have to wash them duds or he ain't going to get no ladies. And so the original 1995 drawing is more like a Battle Cat like drawing. It's more like, he's ready for constant battles. But as I've gotten older and my tastes have evolved, maybe, or maybe they devolved, I don't know. There's more complexities to the character of Wildcat, and so I felt it necessary to give him kind of more regular duds. And I'll have a reason for why he wears these duds more often than not. The newer duds, the jacket and the t-shirt and all this other stuff. But moving on from that, the original Wildcat will pop up at some point. The look of the original Wildcat later on down the road, as the battles increase, assuming the battles increase, but I guess it really don't matter. Spoiler, the battles will increase. where it becomes a need for him to have all this garb. And you can pretty much tell, everybody that influenced it, like, all the different books and artists, like, everything from like Spawn to, anything that Rob Liefeld drawed. Got your pouches and your shoulder pads there. You got a little bit of Chris Bachalo with a little bit of Joe Mandrea. I can't pronounce his name. I'm sorry. Joe Mad, whatever. And a lot of different artist influences and art influences crammed into there. So, that look will come back at some point. I think it's a killer look still. And I just want to point out that, I'm going to honor young Brian's enthusiasm and young Brian's wishes, who wanted to see this turned into a trading card. Many, many, many eons ago, there was this kid on the playground who told me that this is back in the 90s, okay? He was full of crap, but whatever. This kid told me that his uncle or brother or somebody worked for a trading card company, and they could take my drawing and have it turned into a trading card if I would give him my Jamal Mashburn Monster Mash UK Wildcats trading card in exchange for it. And I don't know if I did or not, or I can't remember, whatever. But needless to say, that didn't happen. But I will make a trading card of this very drawing in the future. And I'm thinking about if I ever launch an Indiegogo, not saying that I will, not saying that I won't, or a Kickstarter or whatever, I'll have 3 different covers: a regular cover, one that's got the fox on it, because I imagine the fox will, some people may really like that character, and then I'll have like a modern day version of this old 1995 drawing, kind of reinterpreted through old Brian's eyes. So that's the 3 possible covers. That's the idea that I got right now, assuming that I do that. Moving on from that, let's see, anything else to show? Well, I've been working on my lettering, and I think my hand lettering is looking pretty good. I feel like I got my own thing. The only thing is, I'm sorry there, I kind of burped, but the only thing is I need to tighten things up a little bit more, so I'm gonna order an Ames guide and a French curve sometime in the future to tighten stuff up. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. I pulled out like a Marvel previews book and started writing down a lot of the caption that I saw inside of it, and trying to do it in more freehand in a comic book sense. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So in the future, when it comes time to work on this comic book, if for some reason the computer program that I'm going to go with doesn't work, I can always letter it freehand, which is going to be a big hassle if I go to do that, because it's going to involve a lot of cutting and pasting, and it's going to be an unpleasant process. A lot of work. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say on all of that. And let me tell you, I got one last thing to show you, one last thing to hit you with. And let's see if I can get it pulled up here. It's basically, I wrote a synopsis, I know I'm not pronouncing that right, of what the Wildcat comic book is about. So let me share you with what this book's about. And this is like very tentative, I'm going to retweak it. But basically the story is this, and I quote, 10 years have passed since they have killed the man called Wildcat, and now he's back. With no memory of who he is or why he is different or why so many are still out to kill him again. Taken in by a young misfit nicknamed the Fox, the two form a bond, and together they explore Wildcat's mysterious past that may lead to the salvation or the destruction of our world. It is a story of discovery and redemption, complete with Lovecraft lore, the criminally insane, superpowered beings, ninjas, the supernatural, and a small town caught in the middle. So that is the synopsis that I'm going with. I could change it, but that kind of gives you an idea of what the book's about. It's going to be influenced by things like, the Max, things like you know, like the Incredible Hulk, you know, a lot from like the 80s and the Peter David run and stuff like that. You know, many different influences will pour into this book to make it what it is. It's going to be a hopefully a fun, strange, high octane ride that everybody will get a kick out of. And I promise that when I start to work on the second issue, hopefully, no, not hopefully, it will be 10 notches better than the first issue. The art will improve, the writing will improve. That is the CB Smilewood promise, because I'm committed to it, and I will do it, and I will get it done. Okay. Anyway, I appreciate you all watching all these videos, and if you noticed, I've done a lot of these mental junk food videos, and those are doing really well, starting to build the audience up little by little. You're going to see a lot more of those, and also I'm working on like 2 or 3 more video series. One's going to be about playing guitar, and that's going to be later on down the road. Another one is going to be about strange stuff that goes out in the world. So I got a video series coming up here soon on that, as soon as I make an intro for it, and probably an outro maybe. And also, what was the other series I was thinking about doing? Oh, lots of top 10 videos and stuff like that, but that goes in the mental junk food area. Anyway, lots of projects I'm working on, lots of stuff that I'm tinkering with. Hope you all enjoy all this stuff. If not, I'm sorry. I'm trying. Anyway, as always, this is CB Smallwood, and I will see you in the next video.